In the spring of 1803, a group of enslaved Ebo people revolted on board the ship carrying them to the coastal Georgia plantations of Thomas Spalding and John Cooper. 10 to 12 died that day, yet dozens of others survived, were recaptured, and rejected the story of a failed revolt. They claimed instead that some of their fellow captives were shamans who turned themselves into birds and flew home to Africa. The legend of the flying Africans has been a fundamental part of American culture ever since. Along coastal Georgia, the story of what is locally referred to as Ebo Landing has been passed down across 10 generations. It was recorded in WPA interviews in the 1930s, recounted in Alex Haley's Roots, woven into Toni Morrison's Song of Solomon, and brought to the big screen in Julie Dash's Daughters of the Dust. Despite millions of Americans who have heard the story, for more than 220 years the historical details of Ebo Landing have long been regarded as unknowable, and to the dismay of descendant communities in coastal Georgia, apocryphal. Where there has been a void, Christopher Lawton and I, Melanie Pavich, have begun to fill it in with newly discovered evidence, including a gut-wrenching account of the survivors, and more importantly, 235 names. 235 enslaved people listed by John Cooper in early 1806 as Ebo laborers on his and Spalding's plantations have reached across the centuries and are, at long last, demanding to be heard. In the spring of 2025, we will bring their names and their stories back home to their descendants and communities across coastal Georgia. Our research is the infrastructure on which we have built an exhibition of art, history, and music that will fill the lobby and theater spaces of the historic Ritz Theater in Brunswick, Georgia. The show will open on Friday, March 7th, 2025, as part of the first Friday events that usually draw crowds of more than 1,000. At the core of the exhibition are a series of new works by Lynn Marshall Lindmeyer, who has created paintings, large textile pieces, and sculptures that present and respond in stunning ways to this history. Public history pieces, researched and created by our students, will surround and offer context for Lynn's work. Georgia Tech undergraduates have dug deeply into the events of Ebo Landing and produced visuals and wall text to share the story with the public. Mercer University students have produced digital stories based on interviews they conducted in Brunswick and on St. Simon's Island, focused on family and community memory about Ebo Landing. A large monitor playing these short documentaries on a loop will greet audiences as they enter the exhibition. The show will remain open at the Ritz through the month of March. It will culminate on Saturday, March 29th in a large, free public performance that will fill the Ritz's 500-seat theater. The performance is not separate from the exhibition, but rather an outgrowth of its ideas given new and resounding form. It is an artwork like those on the walls designed to prominently and poignantly honor this history. Montu Miller has built an evening of interwoven pieces by local jazz musicians, R&B singers, choirs, ring shouters, hip-hop artists, poets, and dancers. As the musicians and performers raise up their voices to create new sounds and styles, we will periodically pause and in the haunting silence read out the names of those who have been lost to time and history for more than 220 years since they were marked down on Cooper's list. Our goal is that beautiful film footage of the evening will combine with the artworks and public history pieces to eventually become a traveling exhibition that can bring this monument to audiences and communities far beyond the Georgia coast. Perhaps more importantly, through our partnerships with the St. Simon's African American Heritage Coalition, the Coastal Georgia Historical Society, the Ashantilly Center, and others, we hope that this research, exhibition, and performance will fundamentally reshape how this history is told and remembered in the place where it happened.
Remember Ebo Landing, they walked into the sea until the last man standing. Their cry, we must be free from Africa, their homeland, across the ocean wide.